So today we will talk about three topics. One of the topics is table metrics. Another one is complex script-based thresholds. Especially we will talk about one of previous talks requests, how to generate threshold event only in certain time. Another topic will be event filtering by the time. It's pretty recent functionality, and I also wanted to cover. So as there are two options, one option is to generate events and another option is to process events. So we can either not generate events at some time, or we can either just ignore events at some time and process at another time. So first topic will be table metrics. First of all, let's talk about the difference between table metrics and single value metric. As you know, we have some simple single value metrics, and usually single value metrics are used. So this, for example, is some printer information that is collected as single value DCIs. And also we have another option is to, like, this one is single value, this one is for table values. So advantages for the table metrics are bulk data collection. So in case of single value metric, we collect only one value. When we collect the table, we collect multiple values in one shot. So in one request, we get the full table of the values. And another advantage is atomic data collection. So when we collect DCI, we collect DCI one by one, and the data can be collected in a bit like not simultaneously, not at exact seconds or milliseconds. And if we want to collect data simultaneously, it might be useful to collect the table, because we for sure know that all values in the table were collected at exact same point of the time. So this is what I mean by atomic data collection. For sure, tables also have disadvantages. If we talk about, for example, storage consumption, single value DCI stores one value, exactly the value that we wanted. But if we talk about table data storage, we store all the data. It might be that not all the data is required for us, but we will still store the full table. And for sure, full table takes more space than just one value. And another, it's not like disadvantage, but it's just the different style of configuration. If we will look on a table, if we will look on table configuration, if we will talk about table thresholds, then it's different way of configuring thresholds. So you need to say the column, what type of comparison do we use and what value do we use. So comparing to single DCI value metrics, it's more complicated. And when we get alarm, we get alarm about exact column and exact row. So it's not about the single DCI, but it might be multiple alarms at the same table DCI, because we have multiple rows and some rows go through threshold, some rows does not. So it's we can say that it's a bit more complicated just than just single value metric. So first, let's talk about collection sources. So if we create new table, metric has different sources or regions it can be collected from. So we have internal tables that contain information that is collected by the server, and we can use this information to be shown, for example, on dashboards. So if we are talking about internal tables, it's some topology, hardware stuff that is already available to the server. But if we want to have our own processing style or our own thresholds or stuff like that, we can for sure also collect it as a table metric. For example, we might not store it, just collect and show, or collect and process, because it's already stored internally and is available through the different views of the system. Another option is NetXMS agent. NetXMS agent tables might have different sources. So NetXMS agent can provide tables, for example, from the BigQuery subagent. And the BigQuery subagent gets these tables just as a query from the database. So you will have in NetXMS the result of the database query that is provided through NetXMS agent through the BigQuery subagents. And there are plenty other tables that are available through the agent, and it depends on how many subagents are loaded, what configuration is done, and so on and so on. Another one, SNMP. We will talk more today about SNMP region and SNMP tables, because for the agent tables, everything is already pre-configured, and usually you just select a region and just select the table, and that's it. Everything works for you. But configuration for SNMP tables is much more complicated. We had some steps made to make it easier to configure, but we will get to it a bit later. Another option for the tables is script source. When we use script region, we will use an XSL script somewhere in the library that we have mentioned as a metric. And we will wait that this NXSL script will return to us an XSL object of the table type. So you can construct the table by yourself in the NXSL. So let's get back to the SNMP region and tables. So when we think about SNMP or its in table perspective, we should understand that it consists from three parts. Let me show you. Today we will talk about two tables and configure only one of them. One of the tables is a table that contains all the interface information. So it's available usually here. It's a common OIT that is available through different devices. So if we will walk through this entry, we will see that we have interface 1, interface 2 with name this and another one. This is the second name of the interface, of the second interface. So yeah, when we walk, it looks like pretty simple. If we will check those SNMP OIDs, we can see that the two last numbers are changed. So this number, we can see that it's 1, then it's 2, and it's 3 and 4 and so on. And the last one number, it's 1, 2, 1, 2 all the time. So the first number is column, and the second number is row. So those all are columns. And then if we will, let me see, I think description will be a good one. Well, if we will walk through this column, yes, we will have two rows here with name of the first interface and name of the second interface. So let me show you how those three parts look like. So when we think about three parts, it's first part. It doesn't change. We can call it as a table-based read. We have second part, as I showed, it represents columns, and we have third part that represents instances. So in our case, instances are rows. Here I have separated the OID that we have seen here to those parts. So this one we can call base 1. We can see that the 2.2.1, and then it's column and row. The same here. This is the same OID. Here I can say that first column, second column, third column, and first row, second row. So we can think of it as about the matrix. For now, it's not very complicated, but yeah, you should know that we have three parts. But when we talk about SNMP, those parts might consist not from only one number. It might consist from multiple numbers. For this example, I want to show you how does it look when we check the table that maps IP to physical address. So let's open this one. Let's walk through it. And here you can see this is the base OID. Here it is. Then we have some columns, interface, last update, net address, net address type, physical address, and so on and so on. So, but if we will walk any of those, yeah, this one is empty. Let's walk this one. Okay, so I walked this one, this column. And if we will check that after .1.5, we have .2, .1.4, and then this one is like IP address. So basically, our index or interface or row consists of really long line of the numbers. And here, for example, it's IPv6. So in this case, if we will walk, we can see that here is, for example, fourth column, fifth column, sixth one, and after it we have a really long sequence of numbers. So in our case, it will look something like this is the base OID, this is the OID of the column, and this one is instance or row part. So let's configure the simplest one to check how the configuration works. So now we know that it's three parts. We can say that there is a base, there is part with the column, and there is a part with the instance. So when we configure something here, let's say new table, SNMP, and now we should take this, we'll take this base OID. Here we have opened it. And next, we should select any column that have provided to us information about the instances. So this metric field weights everything that is still this. So it will weight base OID together with the part that identifies the column. So why it is so? As you have seen in IP address to MAC address mapping table, we have some columns that do not provide any instances. So we should select here the column that will provide the instance, and then NetXMS will make walk through it and we'll know that we have instances 1 and 2. In our case, it might be much more. And I will show how NetXMS will use them afterwards. So, yep, we have selected its index and its interface table. This is the first part. We have selected correctly metric. The second thing that for agent tables is configured automatically or might be not configured at all, but is highly required for SNMP tables, because if you want set table columns, you won't have a SNMP table. It will be just empty, because we in general view, we show the OID that will provide instances. Okay, now NetXMS knows the instances, but he doesn't know which columns do we need. Previously, it was required to add those columns manually. So we would write like this, it's first column, index, if I remember correctly, it is integer, and blah, 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 SNMP object, sorry, SNMP object right here, and name and description name here. Okay, let's apply and check this table. Sorry, force poll. Let me check. Most probably I have said something incorrectly. So yeah, I have used base or this one, but I haven't added the column that we need to show. So this one is column, and I think if I here you can see that this one is with column, and in columns we also use the same to show indexes. Okay, let's apply. Let's force poll and let's check. Yeah, now you can see that we have two indexes because we have two interfaces. Recently, starting from version 4.4, you might not enter this configuration manually. You can just, if you have correctly configured the general configuration, then when you run query, you will just get all the columns that are possible. And then you will be capable to throw away those that are not required. So, okay, let's check those one. First poll and table last values. And now you can see that with one click, now we're capable to add all the columns that are available through the MIP and collect all the values. So basically, this is all about SNMP specific configuration. One more thing that I wanted to show you is in this configuration. Now we have just simple columns, but we need to have instance column. To set something as instance column, we should say that this column is key column. And you should know that instance column might be multiple columns, so it might be combined between multiple columns. What instance column should be the column that unique you provide a key for the row. So for interfaces, we can say that index is pretty unique to say which column has problem. And next, I wanted to show you how it looks like when index is available and when index is not available. So, what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you test table. Let's first check that yes, agent is connected. In the configuration of the agent, I have configured external table. External table is taken from here. Let me show you. Yes. So let me open this one. Table file. Yeah. So here we have table. And in the agent configuration, I have said that I have one external table that is named like this. To get it, we have this comment. We have a separator, description, and some column specification. Let me first comment this column specification for you. Okay, it's saved. Let's restart the agent. Okay. Let's check that it's connected. Yes. And let's collect this table. So let me delete this one. Oh, maybe I will just show the configuration. Okay, new table. Yes, source is agent. Then we say that it's a test external table. And you can see that we don't have table columns, but as it's agent source table, we don't need to walk through OITs or do some stuff, so it's not required to configure it. It's just shown and that's all. Now, if we will uncomment in configuration those lines, let's save it, restart the agent and check the connection. Yeah. Now I was able to query the table columns because I have configured them. Okay, and now let's see, the table is not changed. So now, okay, let me delete the old one. Let me clear some alarms just to have the empty list. And now let's say that we want to have threshold, table thresholds, yes. For column status, if it's not equal to OK, then we want to generate this threshold activated, and otherwise the activation event, sample count 1. Yep, OK, everything configured. Let's force poll it. Yeah, it's and now we can see that one threshold have activated, because if we'll check the table, one of the lines has error, and if we check it as a text file, the first line has error and the other ones are okay. For now, you have seen that I don't have instance column configured. And if we will check alarms, we will see that alarms say the threshold activated on table, this one, on row 0. In our case, the script was running some kind differently, or something, I don't know, something changed and lines are the same. The name of the lines, the content of the file, but the order of the lines has changed. Now, if we will force poll this table, we can see that the alarm have changed. And if we will check alarms for this node, we can see that old alarm have been terminated and new alarm have been generated, because the instance column is not set, and we can know only the row that has problem. But in our case, it's not another problem, it's the same problem, just lines have, line order have changed. And it's the moment when it's so important to have instance column. In my case, I will say that instance column is name. Let's apply it. Let's force bullet. And now we have another threshold with that row 1 with instance status object has been active. It's a different threshold because the old one is made for the different instance. But now, when we have this threshold and we have instance, if we will change the row order, I'm just changing the numbers so it was visible here that the row number 1, and we will force bullet. The row number 2. Now error is the first one, not the second one. And alarm is just the same because nothing have changed because we have checked the instance and we checked by the instance and we're not relying on the line order, and we won't have those alarms opening and closing. That's why it's really important to have instances for the tables when we using table thresholds, because otherwise for SNMP most probably the order won't change, but for some tables order for sure can change, and then order of rows, and then we will get all the time that some threshold have been rearmed, but the other one have been armed, and so on. So this is why instance column is important. So mainly this is all that I wanted to show and tell about SNMP tables. Maybe one more thing that worth to mention, that in next releases we have plans to be able to create DCI tables from the MIP Explorer. Currently, you are able to create data collection item from here, from the walk, but we plan to add option to click on the tree and say that okay, this is the instance provider of the SNMP table. As we talked, it should be a column that has some values. You can see that this one doesn't, for example, and if we walk here, okay, then most probably from here. You can say that, okay, we start building our SNMP table from here, and then we, with the walk, with the query help that already is introduced, we will query all the possible tables, and then you'll be able to go to the DCI configuration and adjust it. But for sure, it will be much easier if it would be possible to create a SNMP table with one click. For sure, if you will take some upper tree and we'll try to create a table from here, we can't prevent it. The same way if you will use this one as base or base with column OIT for the table and make query, we will just query those two lines, most probably, or maybe a bit more, but and it will take really long because we are doing it with a walk. but like we can't prevent. It's some stuff that we have added to uh, easier your life, but were not possible to detect if the base metric that you have set is correct or if it's not correct. So like if let me show you. So if this part is configured correctly, then you will get correct results in query here. But if this part is configured incorrectly, then you won't get the right stuff in the columns. And as like it's not defined anywhere, we can't say if you have configured it correctly. So it's the point where mistakes can be done. But yeah, I hope after today's presentation, you will be able to separate the OIT to those three parts and use the correct stuff in this metric field. Okay, now let's continue to some scripting. Second part that I had planned to show was, let me show you, let me, okay, have disabled that, and okay, I have created this CI, this agent's uptime. You can see that I am all the time restarting agent, and I have created the threshold for it. Here it is. With the type script. So in my case, I, for example, want to get alarms, sorry, not alarms, to get events generated only from Monday to Friday, and from 8 till 5. Yeah, for example, it's like at working time. So in this case, I'm taking current time, and I say that if current date day is it's Sunday and it's Saturday, then threshold is not active. Next one, I check that it's correct time. So if it's starting from and including 8 till 5, then we should not generate this, sorry, if it's not 8 and not 17, so if it's before 8 or after 5, we should not generate this alarm. And then I check by itself the condition. In my case, I have set value in this threshold value, not in the script itself, because this way I will be able to change what threshold value is without editing the script. And here I check that if current DCI value is bigger than threshold value. And so this one will return true if it's bigger and false if it's less. Okay. As you can see, now threshold is reached. And I think if we'll check alarms, let's make force pull. Most probably I don't have alarm. Yeah. Event is not regenerated. Let me say that I want to. Okay. Let me regenerate event. Force pull. Let me check. Okay. Anyway, it will be regenerated next time. It will be collected not by force. Okay, so we can see that threshold reached. If we, for example, change that it should not be generated after 2 o'clock. And we will force pull it. We can see that threshold now is okay. We know that current value is bigger than 10, but still threshold is not reached because we have our condition. And if we will change condition back to the correct times and force pull, we can see that yes, condition is reached. Most probably I just don't have alarms. Let's see events. Yep. Yeah. So here you can see that they were generated. I just don't have alarm. That shows that those events. Okay. Nevertheless, so this is how we can omit event creation. It requires some scripting, it requires some maybe adjusting, but mainly, yeah, this 5 lines does its job. There is another option that is available to us. This option is just ignore events when we don't need them. So if we will check event processing policy, yeah, I can see why events are not generated, because I have rule that says that notify IT manager and maybe create an alarm. Okay. But I have time filter. You can see here it's written and not current time is within never. So I have configured the time which never works. So in my case, I might generate event threshold reach always, but the same conditions. I want it to be from 8 in the morning till 17:00. Sorry, it's 5. Selector is Okay, then Monday. Okay, let's select all and deselect weekends. This one you can leave empty. If it's empty, it means all the time. And here I can say that through all the months of the year. Okay, so now I have a condition that will filter this event processing. So if event, now we can raise event through all the days and all the times, but alarm will be generated and action will be executed only from 8 till 7 every day of the month, from Monday till Friday, every month of the year. So if we want to select those ones, then this rule will mean never. And this means that when this threshold is reached and the event is generated, we will never process it. That's why I had none of the alarms generated. So now I will say that all of them. Okay. So basically, those are two options that are available to us to ignore something at some time. So one option is script thresholds that are generated or not generated. And for example, for thresholds, it might be better to not to generate them because, or other option is to regenerate them all the time because as in our system, threshold reached is generated once when it's reached. And if we have ignored it because of this time filtering definition, we won't do anything when the time will change without regeneration because threshold was reached then and now it's still reached, but we don't generate events. So if we want to filter threshold events, we should either regenerate them to be able to process them correctly after this silence time ends, or other option is to not just not to generate the event because this threshold script is checked every time we get the value. So we get the value in the correct time still with error, and then we will generate it, and then everything will be processed. From another point of view, for example, nodes down from some nodes can be easily omitted. For example, you have a lot of workers with their laptops, and after work they just go away, and you don't need to know that they have turned off their PC, and you can just ignore this stuff. Or for example, if their computer has some issues after working hours, you can ignore it. And but if something happened and for example all your network of the employees PCs went down, that might be something wrong with your network, with your connection or stuff like that, and you, for example, want to know or should know about this, but only at working hours. So you should know in which cases you want to ignore events in the event processing policy, and in which cases you want just to omit event generation. But still, as I said, even with thresholds, you still can use this filtering because it's more obvious. You can it's more human readable. But then you need to regenerate threshold every check, and you will just have like a lot of events. And yeah, so this is the difference between um, those two configuration options. So thank you. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed.